Dr. Jazz. I wanted to ask you about one thing. If there's a new one brewing, I saw like there's some footage on YouTube about a flamenco festival where you did with a group ensemble. And is this something new that you're planning to record or do, or what was the story behind there?
Yeah, probably. This is a very nice project that was commissioned by the Flamenco Biennale in Netherlands. We've been, in the conversation for a couple of years with that project. It was amazing because, I knew flamenco. I heard flamenco, but have the opportunity to put this specific ensemble that they was narrating a journey of melodic structure, melodic form from North Africa to South Spain to the Caribbean, Cuba, and coming back. It was a project called De Idas y Vueltas, with the artistic director of the Flamenco Biennale, Ernestina Nort. We were talking about it. She was really interested on it, and yeah, it was a very good information and learning process because I tried to keep some sort of chronology. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chronologia.
Yeah, chronologia. That's it. Yeah.
The chronology, and also how it could move in my mind, imaginary how could go from the whole Macam music, and that musical form, how that transformed into some Mozart poems and melodic movement, and from those Mozart, how that transformed into some very old original flamenco form, like a Cyrille or Soleá, and then how that eventually transformed or traveled to Cuba and merged with the music from the New World. Sarabanda, Guajira, etc. And then how that come back and how everything merged in one melting pot. It's a kind of celebration of multicultural,
music.
How were people from different countries, from Palestine, Morocco, Spain, and Cuba. So it was very, very nice. We did some tours and we did some gigs. Very nice concert. People, the audience received that very, very well. It was something completely new for me because I had to learn the foundation of some specific flamenco rhythms, and also interacting with a guy, the guy from Spain, which is a flamenco cantador that I know very well, or the flamenco dancer, so superb. How interact with them, how to learn the process, and how to insert the process into, like a folk, Cuban, Afro-Cuban folklore, etc. Yeah, it was nice. It was very nice. People like it. We were happy, and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, and did it take you a long time to do all this research, like to study
a couple of years working on it.
Wow, man. Yeah.
Find information, finding text, because I use old text from, like a 1050, like a very old text, and from poets like, that were living in the region back then, Abe Sarabi, or different poets from
Beautiful.
using those texts and rescue those texts. Also like texts from the New World, like the different poems that I put music on it, and to find, to get the connection between the New World and the Old World. So Europe and yeah.
Wow, beautiful, man. Wow, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, this is, looking forward when this one comes out to hear it. Like,
yeah. I mean, we are there, and the EPK is coming, maybe done probably a few weeks, and
super.
we might be able to put a recording together with that as well.
Wow, super. Fantastic. Yeah. Otherwise, I wanted to ask you about the last one, Inside Rhythmic Falls. I'm such a huge fan of Andrew, of course. I mean, who isn't of Andrew Cyrille? And how you guys with Maurizio also play together. It's incredible. You wrote, I think you wrote like the perfect music also for Andrew, because on this album. But I wanted to ask you, when was your first connection with him? How did you get him into this trio, or how did this trio form actually?
Well, I met Andrew a few years ago. I was conducting a series called Music and Architecture. I would say 2012.
Already, oh, okay.
And 2013, 12. And then I put together a series of concerts based on music and architecture, and that was based on Xenakis' book, Music and Architecture. So I got that information from Xenakis, and then I put different series, and each concert was a different configuration, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
One of them, I wanted I talked to Andrew, I talked to Faye Victor and Sam Newsom.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, and then we did a zinc bar.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. And also it was great, I just put some concepts, and then we improvised around those concepts. It was very nice band. And after that, we kept the communication, and then, he was always very supportive of my work and giving me very nice advices. And then I have this, this project in my mind. I talked with people from Intact, and then he said, well, I'm thinking of Andrew. And then he said, well, what is on bass? I said, well, no bass. So okay, so well, I have another percussion. And then I explained the concept, Inside Rhythmic Falls, like how you thinking of waterfall, but instead of water, rhythms,
Yeah.
And that was a very good opportunity to celebrate the music from the southeast of Cuba, where I'm from, and most specifically Changui, which is the music form from the eastern part of Cuba, which is the next to Santiago, very, very close one province to the other. And I'm from Santiago de Cuba. Santiago de Cuba, the song is connected to the Changui because the root is the same, called Nengong. Yeah. So the Nengong developed certain specific music cells and rhythmic cells that some of them stayed in the rural areas that become the Changui, and then went to the city, and then they become more like became.
Oh wow.
So I was concerned with the Nengong and the Changui, and this album was getting information from the Nengong and from the Changui, and using like those instruments like a Changui bongo, using the marimbula. I guess the third song that I use in marimbula, which they're playing a specific Changui pattern, kicking.
Yeah, marimbula smooth. That one you mean now? Yeah. No.
Yeah. So Maurizio knows very, very well. That's why I use Maurizio. And also Catas, because they're one of those songs that I use it as a tumba francesa, because Changui and the tumba francesa is very, and tumba francesa is another musical form that comes from Haiti. I'm still kind of finding inspiration in Afro-Haitian or Cuban Haitian music and the influences of rhythm and chants, you know, and then I use that, and then I put it in different musical context, and this album gave me that opportunity to explore more into the avant-garde world with that information underneath, you know.
How do you, when you say, you know, you take this and you transform it into something yours, what's your process usually there when you write? Like, you know, does it take you a long time? Do you like chew on a tune for a long time, or like, or an idea, or you start, where do you start usually? I mean, I know it changes, you know, you can start rhythmically or harmonically or melodically, but what's usually, or in this case, in this project, I guess rhythm was really important.
Well, it was depend though. Could be rhythm, and then how I put some melodic context to the rhythm. You know, I extract some from the rhythm, some accents, you know, and then I could flow on top. I could put a melody that could go with or against it.
Yeah.
And then try to really, the way to open it up is, you know, sometimes, for example, in that album specifically, they're like a tune called Golden Voice, which I am playing the piano, what the tres should play. So I got that information. If you listen to the tres in the Changui, that's sort of the formula, the pattern that he used. So I completely decontextualized it, because what I got was the rhythm and the accent, and then I was making intervallic combinations. Those not necessarily have to be the intervallic combination that the tres used to play, because it's a you play triads, you know. You know, it's like a 1, 4, and 5, right?
Yeah, like a blues almost, yeah.
Yeah, but the rhythm.
Yeah, it's completely, yeah.
That's why he's playing the triad over those rhythms. So I extracted the rhythm, and then I changed the intervallic, or I brought it. Sorry, I kind of designed an intervallic system and made it work with it, you know, with the rhythm.
That's beautiful.
So, and yeah, and then this is cool, because, you know, you know, this is like a specific system that are usually based on intervals. I like to manipulate intervals to endless amount of variations. You know, it's my hobby. Kind of use like about thing, and then, you know, like finding different ways that I could combine it. I could juxtapose it with something else, and then, you know, like, but always from the intervallic relationship. Yeah,
that's so important. Yeah, I mean, of course, with improv also, it makes sense. I mean, I always, when I teach my students, it's all about the intervals. You know, it takes them such a long time to get it, but once they do, it's like, yeah, man, you know, you have a phrase. Yeah, beautiful. But you know, all your knowledge about Cuban, of course, and Haitian music. I mean, you grew up, of course, in Cuba, but I've read you also studied classical music. And how did that compositionally influence you? Or even, do you still sense that influence now when you compose, like, you know, Bartok or whoever, Shostakovich, like, is it still somewhere present, like the classical influence?
Yeah, but more structural than evident, you know. I think more into the composing system, and then I try to apply those different composing systems into my music. I'm not thinking that come from Bartok, that come from this, or that come from Shostakovich, or that come from Elio, you know. But because each of them have specific system, a specific composing process. And I'm thinking on that, on the process, and structure in order to develop and generate probably like a formatic material.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but of course, it's based on Western, mix between Western composing of structure and also, the foundation of it. What is underneath is usually, music from my hometown, or Afro-Cuban music, or Afro-Cuban folkloric music, or that I use the rhythm in order to make some identity to that process.
Yeah.
The system, everybody have their own, but however, I inspire and my references are, Western music but I'm more into the composing system, the composing and how you melodic movement, how you develop, how you embellish it, how you exhaust, how you go to different areas, how you are able to find different angles to that melodic material, or rhythmic material, how you make something more linear, more angular, or more regular, more irregular, how you change the accent, So I use like a different parameters. And then I try to insert it in what I'm doing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or the piece that I'm writing. Yeah.
Yeah. When you mentioned now Cuba, like how important were I'll put it like that, when in the late 80s, I guess, when you stumbled upon the first jazz influences, I guess Chucho Valdez and Gonzalo were, very big already, but like, were they the first ones that got you inspired for piano improvisations? And how did you then discover all the other music, the jazz, who were like the most important jazz piano players, or not even piano players? I mean, in general, jazz musicians, like for you.
Well, the Latin jazz was definitely my first influence. Chucho and Tierra en Trance, Chucho Valdez Iraquere.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Tierra en Trance from 1984, 85 was my old Gonzalo Rubalcaba, La Nueva Cubana.
Oh, yeah.
Or Emiliano Salvador. They're like a bunch of references that came from the Cuban piano school, and jazz, Cuban jazz, really. And then I also influenced by Chic, because Chic was very popular in Cuba in the 80s.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. No.
Yeah, from the 70s, the old Return to Forever thing, Cuba.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Really?
And the electric band, the fusion era in Cuba was, like.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay.
And but I also, I started discovering cats like, for example, like Herbie in the radio. I discovered Herbie in the radio, but I wasn't really, I didn't have the understanding of the history of jazz and not any chronology.
Yeah.
Back then, I was listening whatever was popular at the moment, And also bands like Spyro Gyra. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, sure. Oh, really? Oh, wow, really? Wow.
Of course, Weather Report, Yellow Jackets, a lot of fusion bands.
Wow, interesting.
My generation, people play like that. So when I moved to Spain, I was able to study in school in Barcelona, and I was the moment that I was really get deep into, the chronology of jazz and Bird and Dizzy and Monk, till I moved to the States, and then, it was closer to people, and then, you have to check that out, and I met a guy, Wallace Roney's brother, Antoine.
Oh, Antoine, yeah.
Yeah, my dear friend. And I, he helped me a lot, Now he gave me some Barry Harris,
Oh, sure, yeah.
great. Some of his books, of course, you had to go through a Barry, and you had to go through it in order to have understanding, And yeah, and then I was really checking Barry. I went to see Barry as well, and then was kind of try to pick and try to play, try to learn or bebop scales and stuff like that. But on my classical side was always there.
Yeah.
And when I played with Wallace, I played with Wallace 6 years. That was my real school.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What was it? How was it like for you? When you moved to New York, I guess in early 2000s, right, or something like that, or later.
2008, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how was that? I mean, I know you went before to Berkeley, right, for 1 year. So I guess you made some acquaintances already there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a semester, and then I went back to Spain, and then I went back to Boston. But I used to stay around till I got that gig with Wallace, through Antoine, and that was amazing. It was just amazing. And for me, it was like, wow, you play with somebody with that stature, musical stature.
Yeah.
I was devoted to learn, and his thing was, music. He has like a huge understanding of the whole history of jazz, and the whole history of Afro-American music, actually.
Yeah.
Jazz. Funk, Curtis Mayfield, one tune, another tune you played more like a weather report, another tune you just played, I got to go play like a Red Garland, and it was like the whole, understanding of music was incredible. So, and the band usually cover very wide spectrum of history in the States. And yeah, for me that was amazing. And then you had to play funky, more like a McClarnon type of thing, and then you can solo, and then it was superb. I remember I have a piano, I have a keyboard, I have a Rhodes and a clarinet.
Oh, wow.
So
oh man,
I have to orchestrate all that stuff. Very amazing, yeah.
Amazing. Was it like? I mean, of course. I'll put it like that. Was this move to New York overwhelming in a sense? Like, like especially of the amount of musicians that were there and the amount of...
Not really, no.
Not really.
So the good thing that I had a gig, so I was playing with Wallace, and
yeah, that was important. Yeah.
I was meeting people through that gig,
Okay, yeah.
And, but I went to jam sessions and stuff like that, and I play all the things, but I had the gig with Wallace. We were touring, and I was learning, and then I was devoting to learn more, and they were getting together, going to his house and learn tunes and stuff like that. Yeah, so
that's beautiful. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's really, but New York, man, so many cats out there, But I met in that process. I remember I met Muhal Richard Abrams. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, man, really?
One of Wallace gig. Well, I went to one of his concerts, and then I met him, and talked. He was very, very humble, very nice, and he said, "When do you play next?" And then it happened that I was playing. Yeah, I don't know if that day, a couple of days after that. And he said, "With who? With Wallace?" I said, "I'm coming to your gig." He said, "Oh, Mr. Muha." I said, "Oh, no." He said, "You came to my gig. You came to my gig to check me out. I got to your gig to check you out."
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, he came. Yeah, he went to, I don't know, it was Berlin or Iridium, one of those gigs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, venues in Midtown. It's close to his house. And then he had very nice words, for my playing, and we became, like, I was calling him all the time, meet him, and try to learn from him. Actually,
yeah,
all the guys that opened the door for me to be yourself. you know.
Yeah, that's
trust in your voice and educate your voice.
Yeah.
Nurture your voice, but trust him.
Man, exact words. I did like this talk with Eric McPherson.
My man.
And he was saying the same thing about Michael Carvin, you know, who was Eric's teacher, like how important it is to have a mentor or someone just basically pushing you to find your own voice. And it's funny, it's exactly what you were saying now. It's like, that's so important nowadays. I mean, not nowadays, always. I mean, you know.
Be truthful, be honest with your own voice, and nurture it, you know, nurture it with information, with education, you know, with study, you know, but believe in your voice, you know.
Yeah. I mean, did you already, when you did volume 1, you know, with Francisco and Peter Slavov, did you already feel strong being a band leader then? Like, or how did that one happen? You know, like the becoming a band leader, this story. I mean, and how do you look at that one record now? I mean,
you know, it's interesting because that album, I suppose, when I put that album together, the music of that album, I was living in Spain still.
Yeah.
But I couldn't record in Spain, so when I went to Boston, I met Mela, and you know, we were very close, and said, well, you know, I can play a lot and went to a lot of places. And I said, yeah, I have this music, and he said, yeah, I have a bass player for you. And I was Peter, and then, you know, of course, I was brand new there, and then we started to play the music with Peter, and I called the guy, you know, that wanted to do the record, and say, hey man, you know, I think I have the guys to do this record. And the guy flew to, you know, to Boston to do it, and then we put all this thing together. And yeah, I went to studio. But I think I have a vision to what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, into McCollum and stuff like that. You know, like. Yeah, and then we did that record. You know, very very fresh. I don't know about 1 day or 2 days. I don't remember. It was very fresh. You know, it's just whatever it is, what it is. You know? So,
yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
Of course, like when you arrive to a stage, you have a lot of expectations. What you want to do and what you want to sound like. You don't have any mentor like or something that tell you something like, okay, man, you know, listen, do your thing, and that's what you do. You know, keep doing, keep learning, keep checking, keep, you know, curious of the music and curious of the process of the music, but follow your path. You know. I didn't have anybody to tell me, so I wanted to sound like that. So that's why that time is nice, because it's just like a learning process, you know, and knowing more people, more albums, and try to transcribe this, you know, learning this, you know. But at the same time, I was taking lessons with Charlie Bonacos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for 3 years. Wow. And yeah, actually, he was also. You know, I remember when he listened to me, he said, yeah, you sound like a bebopper, like a darn bebopper. Now let's try to find other sounds, you know? Yeah, that was cool. It was very nice. It was very nice, Charlie.
Yeah, no, I love the track. That first tune, like what Invisible, I think, right? It's called, with those unisono lines. It's like really. Yeah, it's so modern, man. You put it, and the Ornette tune, you do I think one Ornette also. It's you know.
That's Mela. I mean, we recorded that album, that track, and I wasn't sure what to put it in. And what's Mela idea? So like, man, you have to put it in the first track.
Yeah, because it's just like, you know.
Yeah. Mela's idea. It worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you through Mela also meet Esperanza? Then how did that record Junjo happen?
I mean, Esperanza saw us play. I think it was Peter. Mela, me, and I don't know if it was Peter on bass or John Lovewood with George Garçon in Boston. And she absolutely liked it. And then she called me right after that and said, man, you know, you guys sound very cool. You know, I love it. You guys sound together. I want to make a record. I think, but the guy from Pablo, from Aiva, saw me play duo with Esperanza in Boston.
Oh, really? Oh, man, beautiful.
Lily Patterson. Yeah, and then we played, yeah, because we have some gigs. Esperanza used to play with us at Wallace, and yeah, and then he saw, and then he absolutely liked him. I mean, he's great, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And then when he proposed her to put a record together, she called us to do the record, and then we did that record. It was a nice record, yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. I mean,
yeah, it was a nice record.
nice tunes also, peacocks and all that stuff. Beautiful music, yeah.
She picked, you know, the music.
Yeah.
It's a big one of my songs as well.
Yeah.
And then we do some improv thing. You know, she was back then. She was very curious, very adventurous. You know, great energy, and you know, to the music, and you know, came out that beautiful. I think it was a nice record.
Yeah, it's a beautiful record. Yeah, yeah. Aruan, I just wanted to ask you, if you being a band leader, how do you decide? You know, I mean, one of my favorite records of you is Orbiting. You know, I'm such a fan of Eric and of David Gilmore, of course. You know, being a guitarist. Like, but was that back then a steady group that you guys had, or like, how did that record happen actually?
Yeah, that was a continuation of a record that I did called Alameda.
Yeah.
I think it's Eric. That's a nice record with Antoine, Roney, and Burton.
Yeah.
That's a cool record. Yeah. And then, you know, I have the possibility with Rahsaan to put another record, and then I don't remember how I met David Gilmore. But I always had to play together. There's a different. I think I played with him a couple of times. A few weeks together, and he played, and then I had the possibility of this record, and then I called him. And with Rahsaan, I played a lot. We played a while. Yeah. And then I have these tunes ready that we were playing it and working on it, you know. And then I called him, and then we did the record. I think we did some gigs with that quartet, but yeah, we did some gigs. But David couldn't make some of those gigs, and Res Abasi did it.
Oh really? Oh really, man! Wow, beautiful. I love Res. Yeah.
We came to Europe with Res.
Oh really?
Yeah. And I remember Ima couldn't make the gig, and then I called, for play that music. I called Gerald Cleaver.
Oh, Gerald. Oh yeah, I love Gerald. We played together quite many times. I mean, I love him.
And after that, Gerald, you know, was my next record.
Oh, with Eric then, the trio.
With Revis, yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, that's how the connection with Gerald happened then. Okay.
Yeah, because the reason is calling to do some Res, Gerald, and Josh Ginsburg.
Oh yeah.
And then we did some tours in Europe. But before that, I did some tours also with David Gilmore and Chad Taylor. That's why I also with Chad. There was some bass there. I don't remember what some bass. We did some gigs and yeah. What's that? That was, you know, connecting to, and then I just loved the playing with people and with Chad, I just love his playing. So, and then, you know, he's in one of my records, you know, I just see how the sound merge with the concept that I might have in the moment.
Yeah.
I always call them if they are available. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like Gerald Cleaver. It's interesting because, you know, when he played the music, he has his way to play, but very cool, you know, listening all the time. And I love that kind of drummers, you know, that they contribute. Eric McPherson also, super, you know, he's able to, he goes, any road you go, he's with you. You don't know how, but he's the ability, the mastery, you know, the instrument, but also the music. And I love those drummers, you know, that you could play, and they know, you know, they know how to react, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and Gerald, you know, was like that. That's why you know, I still love playing with him. You know, it's a great drummer. You know, it's a great drummer.
Yeah, I love the time. He's so elastic with time. You know, it's just amazingly.
He lets you go wherever you are. You know.
Yeah.
Just go. I'm gonna be there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But you know, speaking of your records, I wanted to ask you about your duo with Don Byron also. You know, I saw you. I don't know which year was that with Wadada, Leo Smith.
Oh yeah.
You played on Vision Festival. I was there that year. I mean, in the audience, and you played a duo with Wadada, and man, that was a killing gig. And then I heard like 10 years later, I think this duo you did with Don. And well, how did this connection with Don happen actually? And I mean, you know, he's one of my favorite musicians since the early 90s when he played, you know, his records and the Frizzell stuff and everything. But how did this story with Don begin?
Well, Don is amazing. But I met Don because I wanted to study composition with him, you know.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Nice.
Played a great drummer, Ralph Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing with Ralph, and then Ralph brought some Don tunes. Yeah, and then I said, man, how it moved, because Don have so clear, specific harmonic system, a melodic system. And I love that, you know, when I say it's very logical, but no gaps in between, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I asked Ralph, and then Ralph said, no, that's Don's composition, you know, it's really beautiful. I think I actually stole the composition and I played it in some of my gigs or something like that, because it was so beautiful. I don't remember my name, but they recorded together in the Fortet or something that Don is in it. And then I don't know how I get into Don's number. I don't know if he gave me Don's number or something like that. But I called him. And then I met him. And then I said, well, you know, I just want to study composition with you. He said, oh, yeah, sure. And I gave him some of my music. And yeah, and then, oh, okay. And then I called him because I'm like that, you know, like I just love him. And then I love his music. And then I called him for a gig that I had at the Harlem stage with Reed, and I think Eddie McPherson. That was concert that summarized the whole music and architecture thing. And then he was learning my music. And then he called me to do a gig with the drummer from Italy. I don't remember his name. I don't remember his name. You know, the drummer, just trio. Drums, piano, and clarinet. That was cool. And then suddenly he had a tour, and his pianist for some reason couldn't make it. And then he called me to do those gigs with John Betch. That's why, you know, drums.
Oh, really? Oh, man. Seriously? Wow. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Yeah, drums, sorry. John Betch on drums.
John, yeah.
And Cameron Brown on bass.
Oh, wow. Beautiful, man.
In Europe and stuff like that. And then after that, I think we play some gigs of his gigs. He was playing for his gigs, and then through Intact, they told me, you know, they were interested to put a duo gig together, and then people that come to my mind was done by. I said, well, you know, let's try to do it with Don. And that I had a tour, like a big tour, duo tour with him.
Wow.
In Europe, we played a lot, and then the end of the tour was the record, you know. So I remember at the beginning of the tour, we played the music and exploring the music, and in fact, the first gig was in the Madrid Jazz Festival, and then, you know, we just land there, you know, the rehearsal, sound checking out, and then we played it. Because Don, this is so open that I mean, it's really remarkable, and for me, it's a it's a pleasure and a blessing because it's the kind of guy that I could play anything great, you know. And then he always so into the music, you know, and also he's a professional musician. I mean, capital letter, you know, with everything on and off the stage, and you know, everything is really there. You know, so everything is there. He has been around for so many years, you know, but he's not close to any specific, you know. You put in the, you know, like a free jazz context, he will go through it. You know? If you put it into more classical stuff, he will go through it. Like, he's that kind of musician that inspire you to play. You know that you, and his way of playing, but to go in any direction. You know, he doesn't really doesn't dictate. You know, and then we have been having this duo for quite a minute. And every gig is a new adventure, you know.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Then, yeah.
We just came from we're touring in Europe, yeah. Every concert was a different thing.
That's beautiful. Then, yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
Could explore and then it's great.
Yeah, so beautiful, man. Yeah, I love that you do, you know, everything. Like, we started with you talking about this huge project, the flamenco thing, and you know, from trio, quartet, duo, and you know, I wanted to ask you also about your solo playing. And there is an amazing solo performance of you, the Herbie Nichols evening that you guys did with Anthony Coleman also and Vijay, and. You know, I mean, I have Cubanism of you, the record, your solo piano, but that solo gig, you know, Herbie Nichols for me is like, it's like Andrew Hill. It's one of the greats, underrated greats of jazz piano. But how important was or is he for you? And especially, I guess, composition-wise. But also, I wanted to ask you in this context, like your solo piano playing, you know, how do you approach usually that? And who did you listen in that context? You know, because I hear it's you, but you know, there are hints of, I don't know, Cecil Taylor or Paul Bley, or you seem, again, like I said in the beginning, to combine everything into your own voice and language, and made a new bread of a dough of all this stuff. Like, anyway, what's your approach when playing solo piano? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thank you, I appreciate it. Here we go. But of course, you know, they're like probably like some sort of a similarity. I love, and I've been checking Cecil a lot, and Paul Bley, of course, you know. But as I said, when I approach into my solo, if it's not Cuban Cubism, for example, that I have, there are pieces, you know?
Yeah.
And pieces that are written, I think I'm losing you, the connection.
Oh, I'm here. I hear you. Good.
Better now?
Oh yeah, it's I heard you. I think at your name there's like 3 red dots. I mean, I think the connection might be bad, but I hear you now. It's good. Now it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you asked me for my solo. I like to have different ways to kind of build the story through different fragments of segments, or like mini stories, mini pieces, And what I always think in the big arc, and then how I contrast anything that I'm doing, you know. And again, going back to what I was saying, I think more in parameters.
Yeah.
Create balance, for example, and then so many parameters. Like if I have something with a lot of activity, I try to the next use more air, you know. If I kind of dealing with the low section,
Yeah.
I try to extend that to create a tension over there. So when I go to the very high end of the piano, that create a contrast over there, you know. If I doing more like a block chord type of thing, more like a rhythmic thing, and then after that I try to imagine some single notes that are, and then space those single notes in the time that I make everything go slow, and then that slow that start to move, you know, and then to generate content, you know, content, and then generate you over there, and then you are moving it, and then you're moving, it's having emotion, you know. If I'm dealing with a close, like a pitch collection, like a close note, and then the next thing you like dealing with the bigger, you know, like a bigger intervals, you know. And when if I feel also like if I having a melodic, if I kind of hear like a melodic cell, I try to use that melodic cell through the whole piano to create a continuity.
Yeah, like a story, storyline,
continuity of the form. I probably put it in my right hand or in my left hand, or in the middle, or I do it. Try to that melodic cell that I just come up, because I try to be aware of what I'm playing. Try to kind of having a horse. Try to like ride it. Okay, you have to turn left. Okay, turn left. To turn right. Turn right. I don't abandon myself when I play solo. If I do that, it's because I come from something very structured, like that melodic thing that is moving and it's moving and it's moving and it's very recognizable. And then I just break that. The contrast might be just an abandon of just playing, and create texture, and create gravity, That's when I play what's in my mind. It's not a specific note, it's not a specific scale. It's just like create gravity and create arc and dramaturgy.
That's important. Yeah.
Come from contrast, contrast of parameters. Yeah. And if in between getting to the blues, of course you have to. If in between getting to more, like a tune come because suggests me something, I play the tune. And then I go through that tune, and then going somewhere else. So I'm not, when I play solo, and actually when I play trio lately, because with the trios like that, I remember I have like with Brad and Gerald, Chad, it's just like using like hints of tunes. Or I get, the B section of the song, and then we start to, or the B section, I just play probably like 2 bars, and then I start to play around with those 2 bars, and then I could continue or go back or go to somewhere else, Just like like a little hint. I try to to mess around the cats sometimes, and then just generate melodic material from just 2 bars, of somewhere, of anything,
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, when I hear it, I hear that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I like that, and then the cats just they were great, and Brad Jones, I met him. I heard him first time playing with Mohan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely fell in love with his playing, because also a cat that has an amazing foundation of the history of Afro-American music. But also he could play organ, sounds like, like you know, like any classical music that you could hear. I mean, he's a very solid individual.
Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah, yeah, such an amazing player. Otherwise, I don't want to just to end tonight, take too much of your time. What are you working on right now, composition wise, and what's the in brewing up right now in your creative?
Now, yeah. I have a couple of projects. One is called Pastor Paradox. That I did one of the songs. I did one tune for Jazz Coalition, and then with actually Don Byron on clarinet, bass clarinet, tambourine, everything, yeah? And Lester St. Louis on cello.
Oh, really? Oh, with Lester, man, beautiful. Yeah.
So seriously. And I just finished a recording with Ivo Perelman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, we did a record with Lester, you know.
Oh, awesome! Wow.
We went to studio, we record and we finished. That's it. But it's a very nice recording. And then also I'm writing for the string quartet and piano.
Oh wow, beautiful.
Finishing another piece for sextet, you know. Flute, clarinet, percussion, piano, violin, violoncello.
Wow, beautiful, man. Wow.
And eventually in spring, I hope I might get into a studio to record another trio album. But now it's, you know, it might happen spring, it might happen summer.
With Brad and Gerald, or depends yet. I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, you'll see.
Let's see.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm doing this. I have to finish that stuff first. You know.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Yeah.
Sextet because I'm going to Dallas with this project with Pastor Products. We have a residency in Dallas. We're playing in New York. We're going to Dallas, and hopefully we, you know, might take it to a studio. Let's see how that goes. With Ron McCallum, they're going to play drum with us, you know.
Wow, beautiful, man. Ooh, super.
Nice project because it's, you know, literally I need some sort of a story behind the music, so it kind of some reference, you know.
Yeah.
And that is based on the activism and political life of Martin Luther King. You know, I get some of his speeches and then they transform it and into, you know, this is really like a very nice project.
Wow, man, beautiful. I mean, beautiful to hear that you have so much, you know, so much going on. That's amazing, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing it. So
always getting into something that keep me inspired and keeps me
going, yeah,
and challenge me. That's the word.
That's important.
And yeah, I think I have another tour with James Brandon Lewis. Yeah, that we recorded his second album. We have a tour with him.
Oh wow, beautiful.
That's gonna happen next year sometime.
Yeah,
kind of keep something into the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hope to catch you soon in Europe. I mean, when things allow to see you on a concert and, you know, have a beer together and chat a little and to hear you play would be nice.
Anytime, man. Anytime. You're welcome. Thank you so much for, you know.
Thank you, Aruan, for sharing some of these thoughts. Really appreciate it. So.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime, man, you know.
Cool.
Dr. Jazz.